What's up, YouTube? TCB here. Just doing the white lining, white highlighting on the Shaddoll mat here. Making this video because I actually had a request for kind of an explanation of my processes in making this mat, and I didn't really get a chance to at any other point up until the very end here. But I mean, I'd be happy to let you in on the processes that I went through in putting this mat together. The design, the choice for the background, as well as the materials that I use specifically for this mat. I'll talk about the white lining, see, as I'm doing that right now. I've always finished up my mats with white highlights. I do this with acrylic paint, just a small brush. I don't even water the paint down with anything. I'd say this is probably a light to a medium-bodied white acrylic paint. Not completely a light-bodied, because it still has some heavier pigmentation to it, but definitely not a heavy body. The material of the mat, it actually absorbs the paint as it dries, and that results in me needing to do several layers actually on all of the things that I white line. So I'll probably have to go over this small piece right here that I'm white lining probably about like 2 or 3 more times at most. The eyeball highlights right here. This is the 3rd time I've gone over the eyeball highlights. The reason why I do this, honestly, it just makes everything pop. Really does. Makes everything pop out, stand out. Your subject of the piece becomes so much more prominent in relation to the stuff that's surrounding it. You got to make sure you use white highlights just on the stuff that you want people to focus on. I mean, in regards to the background for this piece, it's a pretty non-descriptive background. It's, it's just space pretty much. I decided on the coloring for it just because I wanted something a little bit more drastic in terms of difference in relation to the focus, which would be Shaddoll Winda. Hope I'm saying that name right. But yeah, those are the main focus, and on the card arts, all of the backgrounds seem to be roughly the same color they are. Just kind of blue clouds, blue non-distinct things. But I wanted it to stand out, so I chose to put it on it's kind of a red, purple, black background. I achieved that with what I used. I used magenta, I used red, and I used a dark purple. And then I had a large black to fill in all the spaces. Yeah, it was funny. I blended it once and then I reverse blended it, and that's what gave it more so the smooth look that you get. There is some pretty good blending. I started with the red. I mean, you've seen this in the speed paint, but I started with the red. Then I expanded the red out into the magenta. Then I did the purple. Then I did the black. Then I went in with an older black, just a Sharpie that had been used many times before, and that was used to kind of blend the black into the purple. And then I went over with it with purple again, and then I went over with magenta again, and then I went in with red again. So that was kind of a process. I did the background pretty much twice. And then to give it the trippy look, I just put white dots all throughout it. And that is to kind of, I I mean, the intention is to give it the appearance of outer space, but doesn't necessarily look, because outer space has a lot more going on in it than this. It's kind of like a simplified representation of outer space. Yeah, I enjoyed making this mat a lot, though. As with all my mats, I rarely freehand these days, so I usually start with pencil sketch, just a regular number 2 pencil, sharpened to a fine point. I just kind of get the shape of the characters that I want to put on this mat. I borrowed a lot from the card art in terms of the pose of the... Is this a dragon here? I'm not actually sure what, because that's Gusto Winda, I believe. Man, I don't even know the cards I'm drawing. That's pretty sad. But someone told me that this guy was actually a puppet version. Oh, what are those cards? Yang Zings? Zhang Wangs? Ying Zings. I'm getting in there, though. I actually know how, Shaddoll's Burning Abyss... Actually, I didn't look up Satellar Knights too much, but I know how these 2 decks actually work now, which is, they're pretty insane. But to get back on point, yeah, I looked at the card art and stole a fair amount of the pose of this character from the card art. The few things that I changed, his head is more coming towards you, and I changed the hand too, so that way it's more of like a claw that is also coming towards you. Other than that, you can see more of this wing. I think that's about it. It was really fun. This is a really cool looking card. That's one of the reasons why I picked it. I just saw the art and I'm like, I want to make that into a mat, because that's some really cool artwork. One of my favorite design choices I made was definitely Winda kind of balancing herself on one of the puppet strings. Which this is really cool. I want to look up the lore of this archetype, but it seems like they're all just puppet versions of cards that already exist, which is... I like when they do that. Kind of how Evil Swarm was just dark infected versions of a bunch of different cards. But yeah, I have to get back on topic, which is the artwork of this and explaining it. Apologies. I do oftentimes get distracted. I don't even need the camera on. I'll just be talking to myself while I'm painting. Yeah, I had the pencil sketch down. And then what I lined it with on this particular occasion, I lined it with a Micron 0.8. Which I thought was interesting. I don't usually use microns. They're revered by a lot of artists. People love them. And I just really don't like microns at all. I've always found better materials to do my lining with. In fact, the microns, when I use them on this particular piece, see, look, it's alright. Haven't even finished talking to you guys, and I'm already putting more white in this same spot. That's what you got to do, though. You got to put a lot of love into your artwork. A lot of love and a lot of patience. That's the way to make sure it comes out good. But yeah, I don't usually use the microns. I started out with the first mat that I made, the Grapha one. That was one of the first videos I ever uploaded. With the Grapha one, I just lined that in ballpoint pen. And I tried to keep using ballpoint pen for quite a while, but it just ended up not being good for me. Ballpoint pen, when you colored with Sharpie, the ballpoint pen would kind of like smear and smudge on any place that you didn't stay in the lines. And that was a bit too restrictive for me. I started using different types of pens. I finally settled on... Oh, what is that pen called? I'll just show you, actually. Let me, grab a pen for you. Pilot G205. These things are expensive, actually. These pens are quite expensive, but they do a phenomenal job. They don't have as intense of a black as the Micron did, but they're a lot more precise and they dry immediately. I don't know if you noticed in my video, I was wearing a glove and using a piece of paper while I was doing the line work, and that was because the Micron actually wasn't drying immediately, and I was getting it all over my hands. Then it wasn't drying when it was on my hands, so I was just smearing black Micron on parts of the mat where there were not supposed to be black smudges. I don't think any part of the mat was meant to have black smudges on it, so that's why I had the glove and the paper underneath my palm. So that's why I love these things. They're really good. They come in 3 sizes, I believe. They come in 5, 7s, and 9s, which really good. I'm glad they have different thicknesses. I'll reiterate, they're not as black as the Micron is, which is, I guess, is the plus side to the Micron pen. Through trying out different materials to do the line work for these mats, I've really determined how many diverse colors there are within just the realm of black. Like black ballpoint pens, like just a Bic pen, the pen ink, it almost has like a purple quality to it. Like it is a really, really concentrated dark purple. And it's so concentrated that it becomes black. But if you ever smear ballpoint pen, you can kind of see what I mean. I'm not sure what kind of ink is in these pens right here, but this is a more true black, but it's a little bit on the gray side. So it's not really like a dark black, but I just like the precision of it. And then if I ever had to, I could just go in with a Micron or some other form of lining pen and make any of the lines that need to be black, you know. But yeah. So that's how I did the line work. Like how I actually get what he asked, because the person who asked me this was just really impressed with my line work. And he's like, "Oh, like talk about the processes." I mean, I just do it. There's no other way. I mean, I was a tattoo artist for 4 years. I still am a tattoo artist, so I mean, I'm just not working in a shop right now, regretfully, but I mean, I've been a tattoo artist for close to 5 years now, and just all that job is line work. And that's some of the most difficult line work you do, because you are doing line work with this vibrating, pulsating needle that is stabbing someone's skin, and you have to make sure that you have clean line work with this machine in someone's skin, because otherwise it'll look terrible. And once you get good line work down in someone's skin, good line work everywhere else just kind of follows. It's hard to do bad line work on just this flat thing that you can do pencil work on first. Because when it comes to, I don't know if you've ever seen how a tattoo stencil's put on, but you have to do line work with a lining pen, similar to a Micron actually, and then you do a stencil, and that stencil gets placed on the person's skin, and it kind of makes a temporary tattoo of purple lines. And then you just have to go over all of the purple lines with the black, and it is quite difficult. Depends on like the part of the body too. Some of the easiest places to do tattoos are on shoulders, and do tattoos on shoulders. Difficult places are definitely like stomach. Any place that is squishy and the skin stretches. So I mean, that's just why I have very good line work, because I had to get good line work down on a much more difficult surface. Just another tip in terms of good line work is you just have to make sure that your base sketch is the line work that you are going to follow. Because if you have extra lines in there, it can confuse you and it can end up ruining the piece if you put a line where there's not supposed to be one. But yeah, so here I am just putting white on this thing for days. A background of this style, you know, when I put my heart into it, I really did. I wanted to make sure it was blended and it looked very cool. I think I've been doing only the background for about 2 hours now. But it's all worth it. You know, great artwork takes patience and love. I think I might have already said that in this video, but it really is true. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say other than, like, how's your day going, guys? You know, I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers, which is pretty awesome. Make a lot of announcements at that point. What else can I say about the processes of this mat? It was a lot of blue. It was both characters are pretty much only 3 colors: black, dark blue, and a light blue. Is there any other? No, there's no other colors in there. I guess there's some gray, actually. There was a lot of gray shading that goes on in, like, these areas, and there's some gray texture lines throughout all of it. Like, I don't know if you can see those right there in this section, but there's gray texture lines in there. So it was just a lot of blues. Both of these characters, like, if you look at the card art for pretty much all the Shaddoll cards, it's all very very dark. It's dark purples, dark blues for pretty much the entire square of the artwork. I don't know. I'm just rocking it out, having fun right now. I mean, that's all you really can do, though. If you don't enjoy art, it's hard to get proficient at it, because the only thing that you get good at something, the only way you get good at something is through practice. And in terms of art, it's just doing it 2 to 3 to 4 hours a day, which is what I used to do as a kid. That's where it is. My grandfather was an artist, and my father was an artist. My father was better than my grandfather, and then I was born, and then I ended up being an artist, and I am better than my father. So between me, my father, and my grandfather, I was the best of the 3 of us. So I guess the skill got better with age, perhaps. I'm not sure. I definitely didn't get any of my artistic skill from my mother. That is for damn sure, because she draws stick figures. Pretty solid stick figures, at least. They're pretty stellar. Pictionary was always a fun one to play. I have an aunt, actually, who through no relation is just a phenomenal artist as well. She married my uncle, and then kind of became in the family. Then they got divorced, and she still stayed in the family, even though my uncle and her didn't really talk much. I guess I'm really getting off topic from processes of making this mat. I certainly apologize. But yeah, I don't know if you can see a difference, but that's the last time I'll do the shine on the eye with the white. That is all set. Another thing, if you're gonna white line a mat like this, you really need to pick a corner and start in it. As I'm a right-handed person, I'm starting in the left top corner, and I'm trying my hardest not to skip around. I don't know if you've watched a lot of my speed paints for my mats and noticed that I really like to jump around on the mat. But you really got to try and focus and do from this corner down, because otherwise, I mean, I have a bit of paint on the bottom of my palm, so it's not too bad, but you can really just like, oh, I'm going to paint this. All right, now I'm going to paint this. And you'll just slap your hand down, get tons of white paint there, and then you move to somewhere else, and then you're just leaving palm marks of white paint all over the mat. So that's something I've learned to avoid. Just something not to do. Practice makes perfect. That's what I'm telling. If you want to be a good artist, just practice. Just draw. You know? Pick some of your favorite animes. I mean, I started drawing anime. That was what I started drawing. That, well, it was one of my main influences. Definitely Aladdin with the animated movie with Robin Williams as the genie. It's such a shame he passed away. He was such a great personality. I don't think there has been actually any celebrities up until this point that I've actually been like, damn, it is a shame that he died. And there's been plenty, like Michael Jackson, like all these people that there have just been hordes and crowds of people like bawling their eyes out over the fact that he has passed away. I've just never been like, hey, just someone who was famous that passed away, but something about Robin Williams, you know? It's because he made people laugh. That's what it was. But yeah, his performance in Aladdin was fantastic. I grew up with that movie. It came out in 1992 or 93, so I was 3 years old at the time, and I must have watched that movie every single day. But yeah, so I started drawing like different stuff from Aladdin. Then I started drawing, you know, superheroes, Spider-Man, that kind of stuff. It was funny too. Power Rangers. Power Rangers was a big one for me when I was a kid, like 5 or 6 years old. I went to a YMCA daycare type place, and I would always draw pictures because that's just what I like to do. I wouldn't go outside and play with the other kids. I mean, I would. I was the snake catcher and the frog catcher. I wouldn't want to play any sports, but I'd want to go jump into like the woods and catch wild animals. But when I wasn't catching wild animals, I was drawing, and the counselors would always come to my mother and they're like, oh, look what Ian drew today. It's this war scene, or it's this monster, or it's this like bad guy, or it's these people fighting. And it's like, oh, what do you think this is? What do you think this means? Does he have attention deficit disorder? Like, what could possibly be wrong with him? And Mom's like, what are you, stupid? The kid's just drawing pictures. Leave him alone. He's a 5-year-old kid. I always appreciated that about my mother. She knew I did my own thing. And she never been like, oh, I wish Ian played football. I wish he played baseball. Did normal boy things. But the only, like, sport, quote-unquote sport, the only sport that I wanted to get into was fencing. I wanted to do sword fighting. But I guess it was either the cost of it was too much or the times didn't match up. My mom says the times didn't match up, but it might have been too expensive also. Yeah, there was a sword fighting place like 15 minutes down from my house, and I really wanted to go because of The Princess Bride. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but it just has this absolutely ridiculous sword fighting scene. Like, just nuts. Amazing choreography. I don't know. Those are my two inspirations. Aladdin and Princess Bride. I wanted to be a sword fighting cartoonist / artist. Just artist in general. But definitely wanted to be a cartoonist as well. But yeah, as you can see, like, as the piece develops, the white lining really does make, you know, just this guy pop out. You're really paying attention to him now. You're just like, man, look at that gleaming dragon flying through space. He's someone I'd want to hang out. Actually, I would never want to hang out with this guy. He would probably just eat me immediately. Yeah. And I was... You've caught me at my rawest, YouTube. This is me just talking like a normal human. I do that during the box openings too. I kind of talk more like a human. I tend to script most of my YouTube videos though, just because it's easy. You know, if not easy, but if you have like a set list of points that you need to make, it's good just to have those things down on a list and you can reference them, so that way you don't forget things. This will be the, what, third time I'm painting this strip of white here? It just looks so good when it's white, that's all. That's why I'm doing it. Oftentimes I will white line things that I spent time putting Sharpie in, just because it'll look better white. It's good not to assume where you're going to put the white and just to color the whole thing with Sharpie. Now, like, the white went over into the black line, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take, like, my wet brush, and I'm just going to correct that mistake really quickly. See if I can get it with my finger really quick. Yeah, it looks good. I may even go over all this with black again. Well, not all of it, but just touch up some of the line work. That's the sign of a good artist. When you are never satisfied with your work and you just keep working on it and working on it and working on it. I mean, it's damn torture because you'll feel as if something is never done. I've started to learn when something is done, which is really important, because there definitely is that saying that less is more. I was going to say too much is too much, but I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. No, less is more is the actual phrase. And it's true. Like, in this, it's just, you know, 2 characters, very non-descriptive background of space. If I were to add way too much stuff in here, it would just become a mess and it would distract. But even if you detail too much, like, broader shapes are a good route to go. Oh, what do I got on my 11 minutes and 46 seconds? So I've got like 4 more minutes that I'm going to chat with you guys. Is there anything else I want to add about this mat? Trying to think. I love it. I think it came out fantastic. I'm so glad I had the privilege to make this mat and make this video and chat with all you guys. I don't know if any of you have made it this far in listening to me talk about absolutely nothing, but if you have, kudos to you. I'm even running out of white. That's how much white I use. I'm probably gonna have to pour a bit more. For my white, I just buy these like huge things, like so much easier. And that's just like student paint, pretty much. It's like big budget bottles. It's good for white, terrible for green. Green really needs to be heavily pigmented for you to get the full feeling of green. And then whenever I've bought in big bottles of green like that, it's always been very, very lightly pigmented, it's really not good. It almost looks like a gel that you're putting on it instead of a paint, which is not enjoyable. Yeah. So about 3/4 of the way over with all of these stars. I would say probably another 45 minutes worth of work at most.